at it, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saturday night, and we have 2 fun-filled hours of the Paranormal Portal waiting for you. And I am absolutely thrilled to see all you guys coming in the door as we're winding this up, opening the portal for passage into the strange and unusual and weird and wacky and all the other stuff that we cover here on the show. But hope you guys are doing great. Thank you for spending a part of your weekend right here with me. And but I'm not alone. I have with us, joining us on this fine journey, is my first branch of my personal family tree, my eldest child, and other co-host of the show, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. Welcome, buddy. How you doing?
Everyone, and I am doing fantastic. Good to see you, Brent, as always.
It's so weird to hear you say that.
I just thought I'd throw it in.
Yeah, I guess, it's weird. It's probably more weird to say dad, right? On the show.
It's almost paranormal.
It is almost paranormal. Your volume's really low. Could you jack that up a little bit?
No, I can.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. Okay, that'll help. And how are you doing, buddy?
I am doing great.
Yeah.
Just on the usual grind that I am.
The grind that you're on. Is that what they call a grind nowadays? Okay.
Yep, that's what we call it.
Well, that's just fantastic. I'm glad you could join us tonight. As always, it's a pleasure to have you back. It seems like it's been a while since you've been on the show.
I know. It has been. It's been too long, you could say.
2 weeks, I guess, right?
Way too long.
Yeah, but it's been like 2 weeks, right?
You are correct. It is.
Yeah. I guess it's because you missed last weekend. So, but we're glad to have you back today. And ladies and gentlemen, we are got a bunch of paranormal fun and goodness to get to throughout the course of the show. But before we go any further, I just want to give a special thank you and acknowledgement to the Paranormal Portal sponsor. And that, of course, is Cryptid Coin. And ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting development in cryptid research around the world, really, because the object of Cryptid Coin is they established a cryptocurrency called Cryptid Coin, and the motivation behind the formation of this cryptocurrency is to help raise funding and to generate funding in the form of grants for paranormal or cryptid research around the world. I don't know why I always trip on that. I always trip on the paranormal versus cryptid. I guess because I don't say cryptid nearly as much as I say paranormal on this show. But the cryptid research around the world is essentially funded by people doing it. Like, they're not getting a lot of help. And this is a real exciting leap forward because they're taking a portion of the coin and they're holding it in trust and using the generated funds to establish a grant system to award to teams all around the world. So if you want to get involved and help out cryptid research around the world, go to cryptidcoin.io. And if you have a research team of your own, or you want to understand how to submit for the grant process, head over to cryptidcoin.io. All your answers are over there, ladies and gentlemen, but we are absolutely thrilled to have them as a sponsor of the show. Thank you so much. And we hope you'll check it out. Again, cryptidcoin.io for more information. So we got a bunch of stuff to get through tonight. Sheldon, are you ready? Because it is time for the news. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm excited and I am ready.
It's been too long. Here we go. Let's get to the news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I am your anchor, Brent Thomas, and with my co-anchor, Sheldon, and we're going to dive into the wonderful world of Paranormal Portal news. Sometimes it's actually paranormal, but oftentimes it's just interesting or unique or exciting, but sometimes it's actually paranormal too. We try to cover it all. I just grab a bunch of articles that I think are fun to talk about. So the first one up tonight is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Fantastic site. If you get a chance, check these guys out over there at unexplained-mysteries.com. We feature them regularly on the show. They do a hell of a job, and I really want you guys to help support what they're doing. And they also have a Patreon you can help to donate to over there. So, and you can see the link is on the top of the pages over there at cryptidcoin.io. Or not cryptidcoin.io, unexplained-mysteries.com. Sorry. I'm thinking of two things at once. This is what happens when I try to multitask, folks.
Yeah.
I'm a monotasker.
Yeah, that leaves with age.
But this is a story. Oh, thank you, by the way. This is a story of a weird cat-lemur-weasel that apparently has been baffling the internet. Now, I use the internet regularly, and I haven't been baffled by this yet, but I didn't even know it existed before right now. So, but this article says a short video clip of a very unusual animal recently racked up over 2 million views on TikTok. Man, you just got to have a cat. Maybe I should start videoing my cats.
There you go.
The video, which was posted by TikTok user Kinkatopia, Kinkatopia, really, gained attention due to the unusual appearance of the animal and its similarity to the fictional Pokemon creature Jolteon. Wow. I don't know what does that look like a Jolteon? I mean, you kind of knew about Pokemon, right?
I would say more of a different variation of that same Pokemon. But yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
All right. At first glance, the mysterious animal is indeed unusual, sporting physical features and traits which seem to be from several different animals, such as a cat, a lemur, and a weasel. It's a Mohawk lemur cat, one commenter wrote. It's a raccoon cat stegosaurus, wrote another. As it turns out, however, the uploader of the video is Alexandra Ash, a recovering drug addict. I don't know why they got to put that in there, but anyway, apparently she's a recovering drug addict as well, which I suppose is newsworthy, but who runs a nonprofit organization which provides a home for over 40 exotic animals. The particular creature is neither a cat or a weasel and is in fact known as a genet, right? Genet, G-E-N-E-T. Maybe it's a genet. I don't know. Most genets are found only in Africa. However, one species can also be found in parts of Europe. The genet in the video is known as Norma. Norma is a 5-year-old genet who recently lost her companion. The organization wrote, "We are so grateful to the Newport Discovery Zoo for entrusting us with this beauty." Yeah, it's a interesting looking animal. And of course, we're not going to watch the video, but I guess that got 2 million views.
That is a unique animal, so I can see why.
Sure, I guess. I mean, I've never seen one before. I can say that. So, is it paranormal? No, but it's definitely not normal. Genets apparently are not very normal. I never saw one before today, but now I have. So I feel better about that. And that brings us to our next article, which we'll get to now. And this is another article from unexplained-mysteries.com. And it is... there it is, dragged into space. This is kind of exciting to me. I'm really optimistic about this because this is having to do with the new James Webb Space Telescope. And I think this stuff is exciting. I really do because, especially like when Hubble first went up there, it was this amazing moment of seeing things that we could never have seen before. And just these amazing nebulas and star clusters and some of the weirdness. I mean, one of those nebulas looked like the eye of God looking back at you. It's like, oh my God. So I think that kind of stuff is really cool. And I'm excited to see what comes out of the James Webb Telescope because, it deals with infrared. So there should be more information it can get from further away. So maybe we'll learn a lot more, but it'll be interesting to see what images and things it can pull up. But at any rate, the article is the new James Webb image. A new James Webb image exceeds the most optimistic prediction. Well, there you go. That's a good start. The James Webb's telescope is working very well indeed. Good, because it was like only $10 billion or something like that. So you'd think it would work good and do your dishes and wash your car while it's at it. But the James Webb Space Telescope mirrors are now aligned, and scientists are very impressed with the results. The next generation telescope arrived at its destination back in January and has since been undergoing a 6-month commissioning process to get it ready for general use. As evidenced by the photograph above, one part of this process, the alignments of its 18 hexagonal beryllium mirrors so that they function as one, has now been completed successfully. The image, which shows a star roughly 2,000 light years away, exhibits an exceptional level of sharpness, indicating that the telescope is performing even better than scientists had expected. You not only see the star and the spikes from the diffraction of the star, but you see other stars in the field that are tightly focused, just like we expect. And all sorts of other interesting structure in the background, said engineer Lee Feinberg. We've actually done a very detailed analysis of the images we're getting, and so far what we're finding is that the performance is as good as, if not better than, our most optimistic prediction. Well, that's fantastic. The next step in the commissioning process will involve further refining the alignment and bringing the telescope's other instruments, such as near-infrared spectrograph, online. The engineering images that we see today are as sharp and as crisp as the images that Hubble can take, but are at a wavelength of light that is totally invisible to Hubble, said NASA's Jane Rigby. So this is making the invisible universe snap into very, very, very sharp focus. If all goes to plan, we should see the first full high-res images in the summer. Well, that's exciting. So there's an image for those of you on YouTube. You can see this image, and that is pretty cool. Never would have seen that before, but there it is. There's a star. Doesn't look that different from the ones we do see, but apparently it's a lot further away. So that's exciting. And you know, there's something to that, right? There's merit to that, right?
I mean, as long as we don't, they don't turn it on and look around and find out there's an alien armada around Earth that's been invisible the whole time or something like that.
Yeah, well, actually, they get it like midsummer when it's supposed to start really working. They learn about this new cosmic cluster of asteroids that flies right in its path every year. It's like bam, 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 bam. Ooh, we didn't know that was there. Takes 6 months to get the thing running, and then it just like hits a rock. No, we didn't know that was there. I hate to be a downer, but just be about right. Yeah. Especially with 2022 the way it is. It's like, oh, why not? Yeah.
Oh yeah. What's the next big thing at this point?
I don't know. I was always optimistic when 2020 came around. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a good year. It's got to be, because everything else has kind of sucked. And then it was like, nope, this isn't the one. Well, 2021 will be the one. No, not really. No, that one pretty much sucked too. And then 2022 is rolling around. It's like, oh no, this is really not good. So I don't know.
Yeah, it gets every season at this point. It just keeps getting worse and worse for us.
Yeah, it seems like it's it's definitely the storm before the calm, and the storm keeps getting more pitched as we go. But hopefully, we'll get to a happy place sometime here in the near future. But who can tell? I mean, it could just be right around the corner. Got to keep seeing that glass half full. I think
that's right.
It's harder to see it that way every year, but I'm trying. I keep my optimism. But the next one is kind of a bizarre, weird, disturbing tale. And this apparently is happening over in another country. I think it's the Congo in Africa. But a Congolese man marries 3 identical triplets.
Oh.
What? Maybe polygamy is okay over there. And that's, if that's their deal, that's their deal. I don't, has nothing to do with me. But, they're all sisters. So,
all right.
I don't know what to think of that. A 32-year-old man has ended up marrying 3 identical triplets after all 3 of them fell in love with him. The man, who is known only as Luizzo, originally met one of the sisters, Natalie, on social media, and the 2 of them quickly fell in love. Not all was quite as it seemed, however, as it turned out that he had also been unknowingly meeting her 2 identical sisters, Natasha and Nadij, and was unable to tell any of them apart. Oh, no. Whoa! So they kind of set him up, I think, right? He was meeting them, but he didn't have any idea who he thought he was meeting one girl. This sounds like a Brady Bunch episode. God. By the time he realized the deception, all 3 of them had fallen in love with him. When he received the offer to marry all 3, therefore, he couldn't refuse.
Oh.
I'm just staring at the camera in case you're wondering, Sheldon. I know you can't see me, but
I mean, you get a 3-for-1 deal at least.
Oh, this isn't like tacos, dude. What the hell? Oh.
I didn't mean that in a bad way.
How could that be a good way? I'm not even sure.
Like never mind.
You're going to lose microphone privileges before the night's over, too. At first, we told him that we had to marry all of us. He was shocked, said Natalie. But because we had already fallen in love with all of us, nothing could stop our plans since we were also in love with him, even though people consider it impossible for 3 women to share one husband. But to us, sharing everything has been our life since childhood. The marriage ended up going ahead. However, not everyone was thrilled with the arrangement. Louiso's own parents wanted nothing to do with it and didn't even turn up for the wedding. Ooh, this sounds like this is a soap opera right here. Oh. His sister, however, was supportive of his decision. Wow, could you imagine if they divorce him? He's screwed. You only usually
He'll have nothing left.
he'll have like a box with some books of his, and that's about it. Because that's wild. Oh, well,
Wow.
You just never know, folks. That's like a Disney Channel plot, isn't it? Like the twins thing.
Oh, yeah.
Every show with twins has that story. It's like, hey, let's pretend to be each other.
It's true.
Well, apparently you can pull that off in some cases, but
The unknown is asking what country this marriage was in.
apparently Congo, because they say a Congolese man is marrying three triplet sisters. So I assume that means the Congo in Africa, but that's incredible. I didn't know that stuff would work in real life. But then again, I've never been a twin, so I don't know. Maybe they pull that stuff off a lot more than we know. For all of us non-twins, maybe we're always getting screwed with by these identical twins and triplets and stuff.
I used to know twins back in middle school, and they would pull that all the time.
Really?
They would switch classes with each other just to screw with their teachers. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's diabolical. I
thought it was so funny.
I think I'm kind of envious of them, actually. It's like, no, I think this class sucks. You take it.
Yeah. We'll switch off every other day.
It's not all bad, right? Wow. Well, there you have it. Let me look at the time, see how we're doing. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good, Sheldon.
All right. Awesome.
Because now I don't know. This is not meant to be a political commentary. Honest to God, I never get political on the show. I don't believe in trying to discuss politics on the Paranormal Portal because it's not. But if of anything about Joe Biden, the one thing everybody has to agree on is the guy's kind of old, and as such, apparently someone decided to honor him because, according to unexplained-mysteries.com, a 325 million year old octopus has been named after Joe Biden. I don't know if that's would you be honored, or would you be like, oh, you guys are not getting funded. You guys just lost your funding. That's it. A carboniferous cephalopod that once roamed the prehistoric seas has received a rather familiar moniker. In an ancient shallow bay of what is now Montana, the body of an octopus-like creature the size of a fist was buried on the seafloor. Some 325 to 328 million years later, a new paper published in Nature Communications provides some of the interesting insights into this mysterious and ancient cephalopod. Now, this is a long article. I just wanted to hit on the fact that they named it after Joe Biden, but I'm not. There's way big words in here too. So it says Psilopismopodi bideni is small, about 12 centimeters in length, has 10 arms, suckers, fins, and a triangular pen of hard tissue inside of its body for support. It's a unique find because squishy animals tend to degrade quickly after death and therefore rarely make good fossils. So apparently they named a fossil after Joe Biden, and it's a 10-armed squishy tentacle cephalopod or something. I don't know. That's interesting, and I just wanted to make mention of it because, I don't know. Would you be honored? Would you think, wow, that's cool, they named something after me? Or would you be like, oh, you bastards?
I'd probably be leaning towards the latter.
Yeah,
but
okay.
It's hard to say. I might be honored. You never know. I might be.
You have to let me know in the comments, everybody, what you think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you want to name me after like a shark or something cool, but really a little 10-armed octopus thing, is that good or not? I don't know. I'm withholding judgment. I really don't know. But again, it's just a curiosity that has come up. So let's go to the next one. And this one is, I don't know, this kind of idea I think is maybe pretty novel, but I don't know what it would take to actually make it work in a manner that would be helpful to the energy situation of the world. But maybe it would. Maybe if there's a way to do it properly, it could be done well, but it just seems like it would be unstable at best. But what I'm talking about is from unexplained-mysteries.com. World's deepest hole could be the key to limitless energy. It says one energy company is hoping to change the world, by producing electricity from the heat found deep beneath our feet. Ooh, that was kind of
nice.
That was a nice flow, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Drilling deep down into the planet's surface is a particularly challenging feat. To date, the furthest anyone has ever gone is 7.6 miles, which is hardly a journey to the center of the Earth. The problem lies in the fact that operating a drill at extreme depths and pressures is very difficult, and is transporting the drilled material from the bottom of a miles-deep hole back to the surface. While probing what lies beneath our feet can provide large amounts of data for scientists hoping to learn more about the interior of the Earth, such endeavors also have another potential benefit in the form of geothermal energy. While the crust of our planet is relatively cool, the interior is very warm indeed. Tapping into this heat to produce electricity has the potential to provide a practically limitless amount of clean energy to the masses. That is, at least if we can actually reach it. Now though, energy company Quaise, Quaise, is hoping to achieve such a feat by combining a megawatt power gyrotron, which forces atoms to melt together, with the latest state-of-the-art drilling tools to dig deep down into the Earth's surface and tap this underused source of energy. The firm hopes to reach such depths of over 12 miles and is aiming to produce power within 4 years. If it succeeds, it could give wind and solar energy solutions a run for their money. Now, I will say that, just punching random holes into the Earth, and I know geologists know what they're doing, but there's this site in Indonesia where they were just doing exploratory digs for like oil, and they ended up producing this like lava hot plume of mud and sediment that still today rages, and it's like this constant eruption of this hot magma like mud, and it's made the entire area around this unusable because it's apparently a little toxic too. I don't remember all the details to it, but it's certainly not the kind of thing that you want to do just randomly, because you can punch into things you didn't know were there, or they're not what you thought they were, and then you have this plume of enormous mess that, it really wiped out a whole area in Indonesia. I think it was on Sumatra, but I could be wrong. This is a long time ago. I remember hearing about it, but it's the most god-awful thing. If you look at it, it's like, oh, geez. And it was just as simple as just doing an exploratory drill for some oil, apparently, or something of the matter. So be careful what you push your drill bit into, because you just don't know. And that was not a metaphor just for the sake of the show. That came out all wrong. I know what your mind was doing, you creepy little.
Someone's gotta.
I guess so. The next and last article, how are we doing for time? We might not have time. Yeah, we got 2 minutes. I think they can do this. You got bad luck. This is from the archives of May 16th, 2014. This whole family had bad luck because the entire family was hit by a lightning strike. 5 members of the same family were struck by a bolt from the blue-white while out in the garden. They say lightning never strikes twice, yet in the case of one family living in the German city of Chemnitz, it didn't need to. A freak lightning strike in the otherwise safe haven of their backyard sent the 9-year-old boy, his grandmother, his aunt, and his mother and 2 siblings to a hospital. One of the family, Ricardo, had been chopping wood when the incident happened. As it started to rain, she got up to take into the garden furniture when she felt what she described as a tingling sensation from head to toe. Says there was chaos. Everybody in there was just acting on autopilot. A few minutes later, the ambulance arrived, and somebody stopped breathing. The 9-year-old nephew had to be resuscitated. Wow, a whole family. We don't have enough time for me to read everything word for word, but man, it's rare enough for one person to get hit by lightning, but a whole family? Oh, man, I feel bad for them. But I guess nobody died, right? So that's the good takeaway for that, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to conclude the news. Let's get back to the regular show and get ready for break.
Electrifying story.
Wow, there you go. That was the news, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it. We are literally seconds away from the first break of the night. If you're new to the show, we're on the networks, TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. So we have to take half-hour breaks. So for that time, we'll just put it on pause here on YouTube, and we'll get back to you in just a couple minutes. Don't go away. There's lots more coming up right after the break. We'll see you then.
Blame.
right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after break. Hope you did okay over that time. I know you probably missed me and all, and I missed you too, but we're back at it now, and we can get right back into the fun that is the Paranormal Portal. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm ready. Sheldon, you ready?
I'm always ready.
You are always ready because we got some fun stuff to get into, and we're going to dive back into the Money Made article we've been going through for a while now. We've been visiting some of these points on this Money Made article, mysterious experiences people had, and we're currently on, I guess, number 16. Wow. 16 on the list, and we'll go through this for this section. Then we're going to get into some Bigfoot reports, and then we're going to get into some Lon Strickler phantoms and monster reports. And then we're probably going to close the show with a Brent Swancer article. So it's lots of great stuff on deck here, just waiting for you, just around the bend. And just remember to, leave a like. If you're not from the show, you've never been here before, and you're like, what is this show? I'm going to check it out. And now you're checking it out, and you're thinking, I like this show. Then get subscribed. We'd love to have you become a subscriber to the show. We'd love to have you hit the like, and we'd love for you to leave a comment when it's not live, if you're watching it after it's been live, because the comments and the likes and stuff are important for the YouTube metrics, and that really helps the shows get recommended to other people. And remember, the Paranormal Portal is also a podcast, and this isn't it. A lot of people are like, I was on YouTube, checked out your podcast. It's like, well, that's our YouTube show. That's not the podcast. The podcast is an audio-only show you can find on iHeart, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, CastBox, etc. Just search for Paranormal Portal, and you'll find those shows. And right now, the episode that's up is an interview that I did with Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters. It's a documentary house, and it's also they've got a couple of podcasts of their own, and they've got some series on their YouTube channel. It's really a great job they're doing over there. And Seth and I had a great discussion, so check it out. And tomorrow we'll be releasing the new one, which is an interview I did with Eric Spinner, who is from New Jersey area, and he does research into the Sasquatch phenomena over in the Pine Barrens, and had a great talk with him. So always trying my best to bring you the best shows we can, but we'd love to have you become a part of all of it. So if you wouldn't mind that support of checking out the shows, we'd really appreciate it. So
Do you know another way to keep in touch with us and talk to us?
Would you mean the Discord?
No, actually.
Oh.
Up in the upper left-hand corner, there is a call-in number. Rachel also typed it into the chat, so if you guys want to call in, the numbers in the chat, 720-923-0500. We'd love to hear from you and your stories.
That's true, and my apologies that the call-in number is so small, but it's right under the words Paranormal Portal. But it's 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers to call in. And if you want to call, by all means, please do that. In fact, we had apparently Seven Pearls was having trouble calling in yesterday. Like, she couldn't see the number, and nobody could share it with her, because apparently you got to be a mod to share it. And I didn't know that, guys. For those of you on YouTube, apparently you have to be a mod status in order to share the phone number, which is weird, because I would think you could do it without the dashes, or just maybe one big chunk of numbers, or space between each number might do it. I don't know. But at any rate, we'll do our best to try to announce the call-in number more often. Or if Sheldon, if you see anybody in chat asking about the number, or Rachel, if you see it, or I think, are you two the only mods tonight? You and Rachel so far? Yeah. Looks like you guys are it. Okay.
I think so.
Which is fine.
Elaine was here.
Elaine was here? Okay. Well, she might have taken the dog out for a walk.
It might be.
But let's get to this article over here on moneymade.com. It's been a fantastic article full of lots of weird stories and stuff. But this is the name of the article is People Reveal the Mysterious Experiences That Still Haunt Them. Now, full disclosure, some of these are not actually paranormal, but most of them are. But anyway, let's read through number 16, A Pair of Brown Eyes. It says, when I was a kid, around 7 or 8 years old, I started to randomly see nothing but brown one day. It was like staring at a wall, and usually only on one eye, but not always the same one. Rarely on both at the same time, and I went to several doctors, and they did some testing, but nothing came up. Well, as I grew older, there was more and more time between occurrences, and now I haven't had it in close to 10 years. Sometimes it still bothers me not knowing what the heck that was. Well, I don't know. That's very strange. Yeah.
That's interesting. But seeing brown randomly on each eye, weird.
But only brown, right? Just everything was in brown tone. So it'd be like watching black and white TV, except it would be like brown and white, I guess. Or just
so it'd be like the old Western colors.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. That whole sepia look, yeah. Yeah, maybe, but that's very strange.
Got sepia vision.
Might be a superpower in some places, I don't know. Number 17, doorman. In 2015, I was working on some assignments at home, and it was about 9 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting at the desk in the living room doing my work on the computer. I could see directly into my housemate's room from the desk. But since he was asleep, the door was shut. The door was slightly raised off the ground so you could see if there was anyone standing behind it. Sorry, I ran out of air. Behind it. And that's when the most disturbing thing I've ever experienced happened. Suddenly, the door starts shaking and rattling as if someone is trying to demolish it. Well, there's no one behind it. I'm just looking at it with my mouth agape, and then a few terrifying minutes later, my roommate opens the door and asks me, dude, what the heck are you doing? So I go, it wasn't me. I'm sitting over here. We were both completely flummoxed to this day. What the heck could have caused that? Well, that is weird. Again, we don't know about the time of the year, so the first thing I'd be asking was there any windows open? Because there can be lots of reasons for air pressure to fluctuate, especially if a storm is blowing up or the barometer is changing rapidly. And that certainly would rattle a door and could rattle a door. So there are plenty of mundane things. Could even something with the furnace, if it was, had some problems with the air intake or, how much air it was forcing out versus pulling back. Maybe it would cause an imbalance. I don't know. Just trying to think. But, it's if everything checked, the windows were shut, there was no furnace issues, then, that could be paranormal. But why just a one-off like that? Was that some kind of projection from the roommate while he was sleeping, And
could be.
Could be. I mean, so do you believe in the potential of people to have things like psychokinesis or telekinesis, the ability to affect objects around them without touching them? And I do. I think there's something to that for sure. So
yeah, I've had that happen though too, where it's just one of those days. I don't know if it's high pressure, low pressure system or whatever, but like my door will like go, boom, boom, like it's like it's rattling while it's closed type of thing, and I've debunked that just from air pressure because it's never happened since. So
sure, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's anybody's guess.
Yeah.
And Geeky Garden says, unfortunately, there are some not good things as well. Yes, like anywhere else. Yeah, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but if you're talking about the story, talking about Florida, I guess. Never mind. It sounded like it had something to do with the story. But,
well, there's always something fun happening in Florida.
I think so. Well, that's where Disney is, so you can hardly guess.
There you go.
Number 18, the cold, hard truth. The biggest mystery I have is the time I woke up on top of my refrigerator. Wow. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but it was sometime in my early teens, and it's exactly what I said. I woke up on top of my refrigerator. I'd been sleeping up there curled up like a cat, and to this day, I have no idea how I got up there. There was nobody at home at the time who would or could have put me up there while I was sleeping, and there's no way I could have climbed up there unassisted. There were no chairs or stools or anything around the fridge that I could have used to climb up. And obviously couldn't have used one and then put it back while I was still up there. I also had no prior history of sleepwalking whatsoever, and to my knowledge, I've never sleepwalked again since. So to this day, I have absolutely no freaking idea how that happened. But it still bugs me every time I think about it. If anyone has any theories as to how this could be possible, I'd love to hear them. It was written by Mr. Kitty Saves the World. Mr. Kitty could be a shapeshifter and not even know it. Ooh, what if there's some latent shamanism in the family line and he transfigured or transmorphed into a kitty? Certainly cats can jump higher. I'm obviously tongue in cheek. I have no idea how a person could end up on a refrigerator, but it does seem very paranormal because,
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it could just be a one-off sleepwalking thing, but at the most, it could be like a temporary possession. Weirdly, you know.
oh yeah, like a walk-in. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess there is that. Now again, this person may say, well, there's no way I could have gotten up there, and generally speaking, most people probably couldn't in their normal state. But we can tell from some of the things that are accomplished by like those parkour athletes, we are capable of doing way more than we believe we are. Like descending and landing in such ways that, even kinesthesiologists and people that study motion and stuff did not think that people could land from exceptional heights without shattering their ankles or something. And now these parkour people are doing it all the time, and it has everything to do with body mechanics. But the point is it's pretty crazy. The unknown said, I had a coffee table door slammed one night. I don't know why, but it freaked me out. Yeah, I mean, there are. He can turn into a fridge. maybe he turns into a fridge, but he was able to morph out of it.
Yeah.
Hi, JG. Good to see you. But
JG.
JG Hartwell says, hi, Brent and Sheldon. I think we have the capability to do a lot more than we believe we do. And certainly in the case of, in the cases of actual possession, people that are possessed allegedly have performed extraordinary feats that shouldn't be possible, like jumping out of a third-story window and landing without getting hurt, things like that, superhuman strength. So it's probably possible that, again, we talked about it a little bit last night about the fact that we don't think that we're capable of great things, but when we're talking about Sasquatch, it runs so fast nobody can believe it. Super strong, can break things off, nobody can believe it. But when you think about the times where people have done things like having their children trapped in a car and they suddenly found the strength to roll a car over and free their loved one, or many of those superhuman efforts that people accomplished in times where they just weren't thinking, they just had to do it. So they went beyond what they knew, and what they knew was possible. I can tell you there was one time where I experienced doing something that I didn't know I could do, but I didn't know I couldn't do it either. And
I know what the story is.
The problem was I had a alternator belt go off in my car, and it broke, and so I got a different one. Now, I don't know anything about cars, but I knew that I was going to put this on. I was going to do it myself. Well, I got the belt and realized, oh my God, there's a lot of things that need to happen for this belt to get on there. And I don't have those things, and I needed to have a car. You were there, Sheldon.
Yeah, I was with you.
The only thing I could do was physically make this belt fit. And I did with my bare hands. Now, I will say I felt popping in my arm, and for about 3 months afterwards, my arm was there was problems with my arm after that. But I was able to stretch that belt around the pulley system with no tools and no help. It was just, I had to do it. And I didn't.
It was literally your bare hands.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
And so it wasn't a matter of me knowing that it wasn't. I just thought, man, this is really tough. Those guys must be really strong. I didn't know. I had no idea. I just knew the belt was gone, and I knew it needed to have one. And so I got it all strung on there, and then I just stretched the belt. I just pulled it with all my might and got it over the final pulley, and it worked fine. But I did feel popping in my forearm when that was happening. Like I was pushing myself beyond the limits, but it was really a desperation move. So it was just one of those things. Now,
Well, I think you're onto something there. I mean, when you're possessed, or if you're sleepwalking or whatever the case is, you don't have the same inhibitors as when you're conscious. You don't have fear. You're not rethinking things. You don't have anxiety. You don't have all these other inhibitors that are pulling you back and telling you what to do or whatever.
Right. Yep. So Geeky Garden says, I once picked a big station wagon up and pushed the rear tires back on top of a curb. The girl had her arm caught between the car door and the phone pole. Wow. Yeah, that's a great example. So what Geeky's putting on the table there is another instance of working well beyond human limits. That's just shouldn't be possible by what we understand. But I think we're capable of a lot more than we understand. We I don't know if it's a mental thing or what it is. But I think there's a price tag to things like that too. Like even in the mom lifting the car off a kid, it's just like, she'll end up shredding her arms and doing that. Like you will break your own muscles doing it, but you can act to that manner. So is it possible this person in a sleep state just could have jumped onto the fridge? Sure. I think it is. But
well, yeah, it's just like how you have the jaw strength to like literally bite off your finger.
Right.
Like it's as easy as a carrot, but your brain, pulls you back so much that it feels like you can't.
Well, you should not be doing that. Yeah.
No,
or
don't
anybody
do that.
else's.
Of course not.
Or anybody else's. I once squeezed J.G. Hartwell. I once squeezed an aluminum pop can. Oof. Way to flex, brother.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Or sister. I don't remember. JG's a male or female, but sorry about that if I'm screwing that up. But anyway, there's a prize 50 years later. I'm paying for it. Yeah, exactly. But in that moment, you were able to do something that you should not have been able to do. So I think we do have physical ability far beyond what we believe that we do. We just don't know it, or we operate with the assumption that we don't. And what we believe is so important to what we do and what we're capable of doing. So if you remove the belief, what are you capable of? Well, anything, within reason, anything. So
yeah, it's crazy when you think like you're saying. I mean, in that moment of desperation,
mm-hmm.
in a way of thinking, you are one of the strongest people on the planet in that moment.
Sure, for
when
a
those
moment,
inhibitors, yeah.
For a moment. And the same thing is true for people, like I said last night, people on PCP and the police officers that get called to respond. I mean, those people on PCP throw these big burly officers around like crazy, because they're not working with the norm. So yeah, it's true for possession as well. People doing those kind of things. So it is possible to push beyond our norm. It's just maybe not widely recommended to do it often, but it can happen. So, there you go. All right. So that was that was a great, little segment, but it brought on a good discussion. I think that stuff is important because we're used to operating within our perceived limits. And if we remove the limits, what are we truly capable of?
True.
Number 19, early morning caller. Someone once knocked on my parents' door at 3 a.m, claiming that they ran away from home because they were being physically abused by their father. Apparently, we were only people to answer the door. My parents immediately checked that person into a local shelter, and eventually they left the shelter and returned home. That's a heartbreaker. Ugh. One day, my parents tried to reach back out to them and see how their life was going, and their reaction was chilling. The person denied ever knowing my parents. They claimed that their family life at home was perfectly fine and that they had no recollection of ever speaking with my parents, let alone asking them for help. They even accused my parents of making the whole thing up. To this day, I have no idea whether that person is psychotic or whether we just somehow slipped into an alternate reality. Blows my mind. There's what is the term? It's like a codependency, and people with a codependency of like abuse. They're not the abusers. They're the abused, but they develop a codependency, and that can cause you to lie and deny, completely that there's any problem. And so that may just be the case that the person doesn't want to acknowledge that happened, doesn't want to acknowledge that their life was like that, and they've created a whole new reality in their mind. So I think it's probably most likely that person just created some mental blocks about that situation, and
yeah,
or just is denying it because they don't want to deal with it. It's just easier to say, "You're crazy. Whatever's wrong with you, my life is perfect." So
yeah. Also, do we have a caller? Rachel said that we might get a caller.
We have one, as a matter of fact. Let's get to this call and find out who's calling. We just got 6 minutes here before the break, but this is area code 325. You're on the air.
Hi, Brent.
Hi. How are you?
It's Wonder Woman.
Oh, great. How you doing? Good to hear from you.
Otherwise known as Kathy or Mama K.
Well, welcome to the show.
I like that.
It's great to hear from you. How you been?
Well, I fell in January and broke my shoulder ball socket and cup, but
Oh, God.
other than that, I'm
Well,
hobbling around.
well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, that's really unfortunate. I hope it heals fast. But what's on your mind
Yes,
tonight?
I'm doing okay. Reason I called was because we were talking about the surprising strength people get. Well, that had happened to me. I was probably about 22 years old, and my father-in-law and my husband had bought a stock trailer, and it was down at their house, and I would go down there all the time. I went to the house, and my mother-in-law said, yeah, your father-in-law's down there working on the trailer. We were putting a new floor in it because it was rotted out. So I went down there, was walking through the tall weeds and everything, and I looked around for him everywhere, and I couldn't find him. And I heard this clank, 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 and I heard my father-in-law say, is that you? And I said, yeah, where are you at? He said, I'm under the trailer.
Ooh.
And he sounded weird. And he said, I'm trapped. It's falling on me. I can't get out.
Oh, no.
And without, without even thinking, I reached down there and grabbed the rail on the bottom of that stock trailer. And I pulled it up probably about 6 inches.
Oh, my God.
But it was enough for him to scoot out from underneath the trailer. He'd been down there for a couple of hours.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, my.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was just going down there to check and see, how the trailer was coming. I thought I'd go down there and help him, so I was glad I did.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, how are you after that? I mean, were you just fine, or did you damage yourself in the process?
No, my hands felt a little bit because the rail was kind of narrow, and my hands felt like a little bit of strain on it, but no, nothing. Not my back, my legs, nothing.
Wow. That is amazing. How much do you think that weighed, or did you ever get a pound idea?
I don't know. It was a iron metal stock trailer that was about, 15 feet long.
Wow.
Wow. I see why you're called Wonder Woman
and
now.
Yeah.
It's about, it was about 2 feet over my head, so it'd be about 7 foot tall.
Man.
And 50 feet long, made out of, iron.
Right.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have been possible, but you did it, huh?
Yeah. It would be it would be close to as much as a car.
Sure. Yeah, that's a lot of metal, man.
Oh.
Thank God you did, though, because
Yeah.
I'm sure you saved his life.
Yeah. Well, somebody would have checked on him eventually, but who knows if he, would have.
Yeah.
He was getting on up there in age, so
Sure.
anyway. But I thought I'd call in, and I hadn't talked to y'all in a while, and
Oh, it's
thought
wonderful.
I'd call in.
Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story, especially. That's incredible. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, you're welcome. Love you guys.
All right. Love you too. Take care
Love
now.
you too.
Bye.
See ya.
That is awesome. That's an incredible story. Wow. That's a full trailer, 15-foot big metal trailer with it's not just the bottom part. It's like the sides and the top. That's heavy. Jeez.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, there you go. I mean, people are capable of incredible things. And I'll tell you what, we are just about at the next break. So we're going to come back and we'll get into a lot more of the strange and unusual that you've come to expect right here from the Paranormal Portal. This is our hour break coming up, folks. And as always, You can kick back if you're on YouTube and enjoy the musical stylings of me, along with some videos. And if you're on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, or TalkStream Live, we'll be right back after the commercial breaks. So with that in mind, we're just waiting for the bell here. Once the bell rings, we'll be off to the races. So we'll be right back, and we'll dig into more of it. There's the bell. Don't go away.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me, and their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Even years and years and years and years. And generations and centuries and millennia. Why, I even have heard of an investigation done at Pompeii. I think it was Ghost Adventures that did it, and they caught some weird thermal anomalies going on there. So, haunting can last forever. Forever.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, potentially. Potentially forever. But however long they last, by God, we'll still be doing paranormal portals to talk about them. Right?
Then again, how come we don't have dinosaur ghosts?
How do you know we don't?
Good point. All right. All right.
I'm just saying, could be.
All
Could
right.
be we do. They're just really big and we don't see them apparently real well. I don't know. Anybody's guess. All right, so we are cruising through the night. I want to get to a couple Bigfoot reports right now.
Awesome.
And then we'll get into some more stuff as well. But there, I think I got it that time. The first one I want to get into is coming from RMSO Bigfoot.blogspot.com. And again, this is RMSO is Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. It's run by Kelly Shaw and his wife, and I'm sure some other people. And they've done a phenomenal job, and a little background on it. Kelly's been getting out and researching and doing videos talking about, like he goes to the places where events have happened, and he goes over them. He does on-location videos so you can see where things allegedly happened and shows you the terrain, shows you what was going on there, and talks about the events. And he does, of course, his own research as well. But they've done a great job on his site as being a repository for Bigfoot reports. And I know a lot of people reach out to Kelly. And again, Kelly was featured on one of the episodes with Les Stroud on his Survivor Man Bigfoot series. And, Kelly seems like a really great guy. I don't know him personally, but he's one of those guys that I've always wanted to have a chance to get to talk to, because it just seems like a real down-to-earth straight shooter and really takes a lot of pride in what he's doing. And I've learned a lot watching his videos way back when I first started trying to learn a lot more about what is the Bigfoot phenomena. So I think it's pretty incredible work, but there's an article that he has over there on his blog, and this one I found really interesting. And we're not going to read the whole article, just the main report that the person named Leo talks about to Kelly through correspondence. But hold on. So the article is, what is it called? And if you want to go check it out, by all means, stop over to RMSO Bigfoot.blogspot.com and support what Kelly's doing over there, because it really is great stuff. And look at the headers. He's got so many different parts of his site. And so there's lots of great footage and experiences. But he talked to this person. Storm Ranch Sasquatch stares down Matsutake hunter and then leaps hedge. So it's a pretty fascinating account. I did read through the main part here, and this is the part we're going to read. But he had talked to Kelly about what they saw, and he says, in late fall of 2004, I was into mushroom hunting big time. A couple friends of mine and I am having great luck with a mushroom called the Matsutake. It's a Japanese pine mushroom, apparently. The buyers were paying premium money, so Jason, Travis, and myself went south on Highway 101 in search of new patches. We found Croft Lake and New River were producing 5 times our old patches. So that's how we ended up at Storm Ranch. And I'm here to tell you that, mushroom hunting has always been a big thing. I know, of course, morel hunting, at least up here in the inland Pacific Northwest, is like a religion. And there's 3 main seasons up here where people are just in the mountains. One is morel season, and everybody keeps their hot spot absolutely private. It's like they're growing weed up in the mountains. I mean, they are so protective of it. You'll never, if they got a hot spot, you have to be like a part of the family to hear about it. And the other one is huckleberries. Huckleberries up here are a real big thing. People go out with, these huge jugs, and they go up in the mountains and collect huckleberries. And then, of course, they bring them down, sell them to, different places that are buying huckleberries. And it's a big business. It's a big business just for a casual person to go out and make a few $100 a day just hanging out in the mountains. And then the other one is elk season. I mean, hunting season in general is real huge up here, but elk is like a religion up here. People are just, it's like nearly Christmas. So it's pretty intense. But it says, anyway, getting back to the mushroom hunting, these are matsutake. And apparently they're a very good mushroom, but I don't know if they're medicinal or if they're edible or what. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that type of mushroom. It says, it's a federal game reserve, so it had security. My buddies and I had been busted twice for illegal mushroom harvests and was warned if we ever got caught again, it was going to be serious. So after talking it over, we decided it would be best to go stealth. Well, that night, I'll never forget, starts with 3 of us parking about a half a mile east of Storm Ranch and walking in on a small game trail. We got to our first patch and didn't have any issues. About 10 minutes in, my buddy Jason was on all fours and found a decent patch under a huckleberry and sala thicket. I don't know what sala is, but I watched his dim headlamp fade out as he crawled off, and his cousin Travis and I waited, hoping he'd come crawling back, but he never did. About 30 minutes of waiting, I heard a group of 7 to 10 free-range cows at my 7 o'clock start to get loud, mooing and running 20 or so yards, east to west and back again, always at my 7. I didn't really think anything of it. This is about 1 a.m., and I didn't think my friend was going to make it back, so the plan was just to finish the hike, picking mushrooms along the way, and we'd just tie back in with him at the car. Well, we didn't make it 100 feet. The brush was extremely dense before I heard these cows again at my 7. The weird thing that stuck out to me is we were following New River and had to walk north, but always steering to the east with the intention of making a full 360-degree circle from where we entered the park where our car was. The cows sounded panicked. They almost stampeded at this point, and I realized they were scared of something behind them and also didn't want to come near Travis and I. Essentially, they were between us and what I suspected was a black bear or mountain lion. Or a bear or mountain lion, not sure what kind of bear, and that made me really uncomfortable because the brush made it hard to see below my knees, and clear spots and other spots the brush was over my head. Wow, that's got to be tense. Jeez. These guys are out in the dark in the mountains. You got to be crazy. I mean, my hat's off to them, but no way. So at this point, I made it clear to Travis that we had to just get to the car as soon as we could. 3 more times before I got to the road, I heard those cows, and every time it was at my 7. We were being flanked, and it was obvious. Travis and I hit a cutback of the road and sat down, and finally felt safer for a second. Then those cows sounded off in a field at my 9 o'clock, and they were close. I glanced at them out of the corner of my eye, and I seen a flash of light brown hair. Immediately, I thought elk because of the color. And this is where the story really gets pretty intense. Scrambling, I got to my feet, dropped the apple I was holding, and started for my flashlight. I heard very clearly 2 bare feet slapping the asphalt, and they were moving. I got my light on it, and it was running straight at me. I couldn't tell if it was facing me or looking down. Its arms were bent and swinging exactly like you would imagine an Olympic sprinter. This thing was running 45 miles per hour or faster. It covered 300 feet in the time it took me to stand up and find my light. It was about 30 feet from me when it came to a complete stop, stood there, and stared me down. Its breaths were full and deep, but not like it was winded. I could see its breath on the cold evening air. It was easily 4 feet across the shoulder, 8 feet tall, and nearly as tall as the road sign it stopped next to. Man, that has got to be a sight. Could you imagine, Sheldon?
No, I can't. I can't. Yep, I can't.
There would just have been a big poopy stain under me right at that point, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't know, man. These guys are built from a metal I don't even understand. Its arms were hanging so low it could have been mid-shin at the fingertips. It had to have weighed 650 pounds. Its legs seemed too short to be able to move as fast as it did. Cone-shaped head, no neck whatsoever. Absolutely massive. My next thought was this thing is going to realize all I have is a flashlight, and it's going to finish running over here and rip me apart. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You just don't know. That when you're confronted with a sight like that, you have no idea what's going in through the mind of that thing. I mean, I hate to say thing because I think they're intelligent, and that being, I guess, would be better, but you just don't know if this is a bluff charge or is it just going to finish that charge and it won't be a bluff anymore. Man. It says, so he says, my next thought is this thing's going to realize all I have is rip me apart. Okay, I was frozen with fear like I've never experienced before. And just like that, it turned to its left, and with 2 little pounces, it cleared a 2-lane road and hopped over a hedge of brush off to the shoulder that stood 3 or 4 feet tall and extended off the road 25 feet. I listened. It never landed. It jumped into thin air. For the next 2 hours, Travis and I sat with our back buried into the cut bank waiting for Jason. The whole time I heard intelligent chatter coming from the tree line across the road directly in front of me. Sounded like a mashup of raccoon mixed with the sound of large water drops hitting a hard surface. Really hard to explain the noises I was hearing. I know it was intelligent because once the sound across the road stopped, the exact same intelligent sound answered back from the tree line above me on top of the cut bank. Cut bank, I guess. And that back and forth between multiple entities went on until about 3:30 a.m. I heard loud, fast-moving steps coming down the road, and I thought it was coming back, but this time it was my buddy Jason, and he was pale as a ghost. He just wanted to leave and didn't want to talk about anything. I've never been back to that area. I'll never go back. No thanks. Sorry about the spelling errors, but that's my story. I put my hand on the Bible and retell it any day. Wow. That's crazy.
Indeed.
That's an incredible story. I mean, this is, again, it's some person reaching out, but I'm sure Kelly vetted it as well as he could, and he does a good job on this site. He doesn't just put up anything people, tell him. So he's had a back and forth correspondence with the person to, so it's just a hell of a story. Jeez. Great job.
It's one of those things. I try every time one of these stories is read, I try to picture what it would feel like to have something that massive traveling that fast directly at you. And I can't, because it's so unfathomable to have something like that happen. Even if it was a bear, it's something unfathomable because I've been in a situation even close.
And I think the big problem is we just don't know enough about their behavior to know if, you hear terms bluff charge, but can you be sure? I mean, we know so very, very, very little about them. How do you know it's going to be a bluff charge? Maybe it's the one chasing towards you and stopping isn't the one you got to worry about. It's the one behind you going to eat you or break your neck, twist your head around or something the wrong way. We just don't know, so we have no idea what is it thinking? What does it want to accomplish? Does it just want to intimidate you? In this case, it turned out that was the case, and I'd like to believe that that's usually the case because people have experiences and don't just go missing. But there are many people that do go missing. And what's going on with those people? We don't really know, but I think
true.
I think a fair number of people maybe are getting the not bluff charges, Maybe they're getting the real charges that end up with, And here's the other part is that if they are intelligent, as I believe they are, and many other people do as well, so if they are that intelligent, then do they have the same behavioral barometers that we do? And a lot of people believe they do. I do as well. So when you're walking down the street in any metropolitan area, you pass people all the time. Some of those people are just indifferent to you. Some people actually are friendly. Other people would just as soon drive a spike into your head as to say hello. There's just that whole range of people that you encounter all the time. And I think the same is probably true if these things are as intelligent as we believe they are, that they could have that same barometer of personalities. There's most of them probably are just wanting to live their lives and not be hassled and to avoid people. But there's might be some that maybe they've encumbered a whole bunch of damage at the hands of people and they just hate people, like maybe deforestation drove them out of an ancestral home, and maybe caused harm to the rest of the family, or some siblings died as a result of not being able to provide. And maybe they hate people. And it's not hard to imagine that that's the case, because generally speaking, we're pretty indifferent to the wilds around us, which is like, that'd be a great place for a home. That'd be a great place for a golf course. Golf course would be wonderful right in that valley, and without any consideration to what may live there. It's like it's not even an afterthought for us. It's just like, I got permission to log this land, so I'm gonna just wipe out all the forest on this hill. And I understand. I'm not anti-logging. I think that it can be done responsibly and can be done with very little impact if done correctly, and it doesn't decimate an area. I'm anti-clear cutting. I think that that's absolutely ridiculous and should never be allowed to change the entire ecosystem of an area.
What's the difference? I actually didn't know there was a difference between logging and clear cutting.
Well, logging can be done where they don't take every tree. They just take every percentage of trees, and they leave a certain criteria behind to, again, continue to provide shelter and to continue to hold the substrate of the soil in place. Like clear cutting just wipes out everything. Now, they usually do plant behind, but these are little saplings they're planting, and are they going to actually make it? Because they don't have the cover and I think they've gotten a lot better. Don't get me wrong. I think that usually logging is done with at least to have lessen the impact of logging than it ever was in the past. I think that it was done with reckless abandon in the past, but it's done much more responsibly now. But I think, there's still ways to do it even more responsibly. Not that I'm an expert, but just my 2 cents for whatever that's worth. And honestly, not much. I just hate to see beautiful, forested hills get just bald. To me, and you see that up here in the north of Idaho. There's a lot of logging, and it just breaks my heart. It's like, oh my God. So it happens, and as long as it's back planted and they have some management on that, then that's cool. It's law they have to replace every tree they cut down. I didn't know that. I don't know if it's law, but I think it's definitely encouraged. It could be law in certain places. I think it should be. Be. I don't know. I can't speak with any authority to that. And again, I'm not anti-logging. I think it's fine. Use the resources that are there, but just, try not to, change and wipe out a complete ecosystem of an area. I think that that's reckless. Now on a side note, there's been people who have taken areas that were logged years and years and years ago, and they were desolate. I think it was in South America or Central America. And this guy, piece by piece, bought the lands or had the lands, and he piece by piece replanted it. And once he replanted it and reintroduced native plants to the area, things started coming back in the area, like natural springs started flowing again that had long since dried up. And even species of animals returned because the habitat was back again. So, I mean, it's really cool. There's some extraordinary success stories about revitalizing areas that were decimated by logging and by deforestation. So it can be done. But again,
I like hearing that.
I do too. Those are encouraging stories. Absolutely. So the next I'm going to go to an article from Sasquatch Chronicles blog. Special thanks to Mr. Germer as well for allowing us to do this. So this is from March 14th, and it's not extraordinarily long, but It looks like a good one. This is one from the blog again. So, I want to encourage you guys. Everybody knows about Wes's podcast, of course, Sasquatch Chronicles, but I don't think as many people know about the website, SasquatchChronicles.com, which is not just a place to sign up and become a member, but there's a blog that is full of different shows and different information. Sometimes listener emails are set up there so you can read them, and sometimes he'll use those as a precursor to a show, like coming up on a future show, and he'll set out the email that he received in the print form, so you can kind of see what's coming up on other shows. But it's a great repository for information. Android, yes, it should be law because the trees are what filter impurities from our atmosphere and release oxygen. Yeah, absolutely. They have a negative carbon footprint, right? All right, March 14th, the shoulders were very wide. A listener writes, this event happened to me on an early morning of August 17th, 2014. I was attempting to climb Pikes Peak via Craig's Trail on the west side of the mountain. It was solo with my St. Bernard Marley. My plan was to hit the trailhead by 5 a.m. and to get to my camp around 2 p.m., rest and summit the next day. I hiked all morning, and around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I set up camp. The map looked like I had a decent place to sleep, but when I got there, it was not very accommodating. The ground was clear of rocks and started to approach a tree line. About an inch of snow was on the ground, but the wind had blown most of the areas clear. Trees were getting smaller and more spread out. The grade was less than habitable, but I made do with the situation. I set up my tent and started melting snow for my dehydrated dinner. The temperature was clear, cold, and windy, with no real weather was expected. No fire due to the wind and fire restrictions. Went to bed at sundown. That time of year, around 8 to 8:30, around 11 p.m., I had slid down into the corner of my tent because of how steep the terrain was. I got up and moved my sleeping bag and pad outside where it was not as steep, and left my dog in the tent, zipped up so she wouldn't run away. I was maybe 6 to 10 feet away from my tent, fell back asleep. Around 2:30 or 2:45, my dog woke me up barking like crazy. Well, I figured it was some animal walking around, like a skunk or a raccoon. I turned my headlamp on, scanned the close area for any animals. I didn't see any, so I unzipped the tent to check in on her, and she had peed in the tent and was still barking, slipping in her urine as she recoiled. Shaking in fear at the corner, I heard some crunching behind me. Now thinking it was a bear and grabbed my handgun with the top flap of my backpack, I half zipped the tent up. When I turned around, I saw a shadow standing. It was huge, at least 8 feet tall, standing maybe 80 feet away. The shoulders were very wide, and its arms were longer than that of a man. The shoulders are what I noticed first, just how wide this thing was. The head looked like a mound on top of the shoulders rather than a separate neck and head, similar to the last story. I don't remember seeing its eye flash, which now seems weird. It ducked its head and swiped its right leg on the ground across his body. It heaved from its right, low hip something, flying down from a slightly higher elevation from the north. I could see something moving across the night sky, clear that it was something, but didn't know what. A dried log was thrown at me, and it exploded 4 feet away from me and the tent. When I looked back up to the north, it was gone. From the time I saw the animal to the time the log exploded was between 5 seconds and 10 seconds. My dog was still barking. I dodged the log and tried to see where the animal went. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. After trying to wrap my head around what just happened, I tied Marley to a tree and started packing up my small camp, and was on the trail heading back to my car. The smell was so horrible, musty, and insulting in my nose. It stuck in my nose for the 15 or 20 minutes it took to pack. I was shaking the whole time. That's incredible. Wow.
Oh, man.
Again, that's the thing. These people are so brave. And my hat's off to them, really, that I don't know if this was a believer before or not, or was this when he became a believer, or did he already know they were there? Because I think there's kind of the old saying, ignorance is bliss. So, like, if
Yeah.
you're a complete skeptic, you can go out in the forest and not think twice. Like, hey, I'm in the forest. I'm in nature. I'm just part of nature. But if you're a believer, every sound has a different meaning. You know, every smell has a different, connection. And you have to think, is that them? Are they there? You know, and I think it just changes the forest. It changes the wild places because it's not just the local normal fauna you've got to think about. There are these other things in there that and maybe many different other things. I don't know. But that just changes it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's just one of those things.
All right, folks, we're going to go to our last break. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes for the last stretch of the Paranormal Portal for tonight. Don't go away. right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stretch of the show for tonight. Man, it's gone fast.
Unbelievable.
Well, it is always an anomaly of its own, isn't it? The music is always epic here. Thank you, Queen. I appreciate that. Those are all my concoctions. I whipped them all up. Different times in my life. But yeah, the last one, the last break on YouTube, you guys heard a song that I call Tribes. And it's one I was actually planning on trying to do some form of Bigfoot documentary. And it never actually got off the ground. I had a bunch of complications and issues trying to pull it all together. But I was like, oh, I got that song. And then, you know, as doing the YouTube show and needing to have breaks, I was like, well, I guess I'll just use it on one of the breaks. So that's why it's there. And I put a bunch of Bigfoot videos with it. So hopefully it was entertaining. And it's better than listening to commercials, I hope. But it's never been a self-serving thing like, hey, look what I can do. I can do this too. It's never been about that. But some people
Wink, wink.
seem to think it's all an ego thing. But it's really not. It's because I used to play all kinds of great music, but unfortunately YouTube didn't like that much. So I had to use my own. Anyway, let's continue on our journey as we're going through. I want to get to some of the claims from Phantoms and Monsters. I was going to go to an article from Brent Swancer, but I think we'll hold this till another show. I've got a few reports from, well, maybe we'll still get to it. Let me just see. How long is this article? It's interesting because it has to do with bilocation, and I think that's a fascinating discussion, but I'm not sure it fits as well with tonight's narrative as does the rest of this weirdness we've been reading. So I do want to get to the Phantoms and Monsters one first, and then we'll probably fill it with more from the Money Made article wherever we end up, depending on these articles. I'm not sure how long they are. But again, Phantoms and Monsters, special thanks to Lon Strickler, who is Mr. Phantoms and Monsters himself. He has this great site over there at phantomsandmonsters.com. You should check it out because there's a lot of great stories that he records over there and claims from people, their own experiences, as well as some research efforts. And it's also home to his, book series that he's written. He's just published another book, and it's apparently an Amazon bestseller. So very cool. Congratulations, Mr. Lon Strickler, on your bestseller. And it's also home of his Phantoms and Monsters radio podcast, which is phenomenal. And so the first one we want to read tonight from phantomsandmonsters.com is Native Witches and Skinwalkers, Navajo Family's Cursed History. Now, Skinwalkers is kind of one of those topics that I think of all of the subjects in the paranormal, it's the hardest to get a lot of information about because the culture demands that it not be discussed. And I think it's because there's a belief in some First Nations cultures, and maybe all of them, that if you talk about these things, you are, in a sense, summoning them to you. And of course, God, nobody wants to deal with these things firsthand. But, it is interesting, the information that has gotten out that we do know about of the history and these encounters as the few that we do know about. And they're absolutely terrifying. Skinwalkers, what they are apparently like a dark shaman, which is a shapeshifter medicine person, but apparently corrupted. Now, the ancient history of the Skinwalkers was one of heroism. They were fighting alongside of the tribes to keep the initial Spanish occupation out, in which I guess they succeeded at, and so they were kind of regarded as heroes because they were a big part of that movement to keep them away. But apparently it kind of went south after that, in that, as I understand it, the legend suggests that they became corrupt in that they wanted more and more power. And to get more and more power, they started to do things that were pretty horrible, including like stealing people's life forces and corrupting people and all kinds of dark things. They apparently are often seen in graveyards, but I find that interesting because a lot of phenomena is witnessed in graveyard, including Bigfoot and Dogman. So is this a case of mistaken identity for one or several of them? I don't know. But apparently the Skinwalker will dig up graves to perhaps utilize the remaining life energy in the corpse, but also to remove bones, which are used in dark rituals and apparently used to pierce people and to curse them to the point of death. So it's really, really weird. There's this one story we covered where this grandmother was defending her home, and she knew the story of how to get rid of them or how to keep them away, and she did so. But when she came back, she had a little bit of blood on her shoulder, and they had to call in a medicine man, and he removed a 2-inch bone from her shoulder that she had no idea was there. And apparently came from a corpse, and it's probably saved her life, apparently. So at any rate, go ahead.
Oh, just a quick question. So as far as like, legend goes with the skinwalkers, and where there might be exaggeration in where it probably really is at, where's the line as far as skinwalkers go for you? Like, where do you think it's probably could be what happened, and other things might be just over the course of telling the story over and over again, maybe?
See, this is where it gets really tough. I mean, it's of anything, this is probably one of the hardest ones, because it deals with a subject that we just don't know much about. And it's like, the shamanistic magics. I mean, they are what is possible. Well, I've heard a lot of claims of people seeing things transform. And it's not just from random articles, but from witnesses. And I mean, I've got to believe that they saw what they saw. I just don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to process it. It's just so foreign to what I understand about the world. But again, doing the show, I think, has just opened my eyes to the fact that everything's possible. There's really nothing that's impossible. And again, as we discussed last night, if you get down to it, everything is energy. And, we can show through like the double slit experiment that energy is transformed when we look at it, with the double slit where the photons were particles when they were watched, but they became waves when nobody was watching. So that observation absolutely changed the nature of that photons. And so what is possible? Well, maybe everything. I don't know. It's very weird. So I in a long roundabout way, I don't know what could be real and what couldn't be, because this is one of those things. We don't know very much about it, first of all, but it's one, could they be lying? No, I don't think so. There's some phenomena going on that they're witnessing and have experienced for generations. And it seems pretty horrid, whatever it is. But anyway, we don't know the history is a verbal tradition in a large part for the tribes, and so is there points where those are embellished or changed? Maybe, I don't know. We don't know the history, but people are still seeing something that it defies explanation. So the begins a young Navajo man who grew up on the reservation in New Mexico recalls his family's tragic history at the hands of native witches and in turn skinwalkers. It says, I live in Gallup, New Mexico, and I am a 21-year-old Navajo. I have family that lives in a plot of land south of Gallup, and it's about a 30-minute drive to my family's land and is surprisingly not deep in the woods. I remember first being in close proximity with a witch when I was about 7. I was at my uncle's house. Our land has 3 homes on it. He, my mom, and his girlfriend were drinking, and my uncle went to relieve himself out on the front door. I remember he freaked out and said there was a skinwalker outside. I freaked out, and his girlfriend said it was okay because that it was just Scooby-Doo in an attempt to lessen my fear. Since it's been so long, I remember those important details only. After that, I have no memory of what happened. That uncle died that year. I always think what could have been between me and him now, that I feel so alone and my remaining family isn't as cool as he was with me. Anyway, to be clear, I never have seen a witch, but these details are unfortunately true. Jump forward a couple of years and I'm now in 8th grade. My grandpa, who lived with my mom and I, is in the hospital, and I end up sleeping in his room because I always slept on my mom's floor due to being creeped out by the thought of a witch trying to peer inside my window or hearing the noises it could make. I wanted to sleep in there because he has cable in his room, and his room is on the opposite end where the trailer where my mom slept. It's about 5 a.m. and I wake up to the most terrifying language I've ever heard. It sounds like a cross between a hyena and a pig. The constant chit-chat between whatever was outside my grandpa's window haunted me in that instance. I listened for a couple of seconds, but I covered my ears as hard as I could out of pure terror. It was the most scared I've ever been. After the ordeal, I went to my mom's room and crawled into her bed, telling her what happened and shaking a bit. I had school that morning, so when we went to start the car, I noticed that the area where I heard the noise there was a trailer hitch, and sitting on it was a stray dog. My grandma hired a medicine man before or after that happened, and he said the dog was in cahoots with the witches. I tried to get rid of him, but that dog always came back. It was skinny and skittish. I always had a bad vibe from that dog, which doesn't happen as I love dogs. After that encounter, I was truly scared of being alone. A year later, during my freshman year of high school, my mom died. Whether or not those jealous witches continued towards her death, I'll ponder once in a while. She died from a bad cold, mucus in her lungs. I was asleep in her room, but not on her bed. I went to bed about 10 p.m. In the morning, she was very, very weak and cold, like she was hallucinating and didn't get under the blankets to keep warm. When I woke up, she was dead and sitting in front of her bed. That changed my life completely, as I've never stayed at that house regularly since she died. I stay with my dad now in town. My other grandpa said our family may be an active target of those evil witches. He said once in the 90s when my uncles and their friends were at my grandma's land, they see a fire and a witch doing a dance ritual on top of a mesa. They begin to shoot at it, and it sees them, and they take off, and when their girlfriends freak out, they leave, and that witch chases them out from wherever they are. Keep in mind this area has a lot of trees and isn't barren and flat like most of the Navajo Nation. My grandpa inferred that the witch followed my uncles back to where my family's land is. My family and the evil history of the area they settled at is real. I wouldn't type all of this if it weren't true. I don't like fake paranormal stories, and you wouldn't either if the paranormal was just a footstep away. After all the damages these witches have done, no one wants to talk about it or do anything about them. What is there to do? It's been 6 years now since my mom died, and each day is a day I inch further away from my small memories of her. Yeah, that's tough.
That's a hard one.
It is. It's so dark and twisted, but again, it's that foolishness of shooting at someone, you know. And I'm not justifying anything there, of course not, but you just don't poke the sleeping bear, you know. You just when they saw that, they should have went, oh, you know what, let's get out of here. Not, hey, let's take shots at it. Oof. So
it's one of those things, though, you don't know until you know.
Yeah, but I understand that, and maybe those guys didn't really believe in the whole skinwalker history thing, but and again, we're of course we're assuming this story is legit.
Right.
It certainly, I know Lon's careful about what he publishes as well, so I'm sure he probably checked into it and did some work to make sure that there was some legitimacy to it. But again, it's hard to know. But the stray dog could very well have been a skinwalker because apparently, according to other things that I've read and shared on the show, one of the things they do is they will kill stray dogs and then wear their skin and become the stray dog. You know? Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Are you coming up? That's Pikachu. His name's become Pikachu, so he's a talker.
I like it.
Yeah. What was Poseidon, but he didn't have any clue who we were talking to, so we're trying this. So we'll see if he acknowledges his name eventually. He just came in to yell at us a little bit, now he left.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Rachel gets it right, said, they say power corrupts. Skinwalkers have great power, so they could have become corrupted as they move further from their society and humanity in general.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that is an old saying. There's another part of the saying that, it's like, he who is good with little will be good with much, and he who is, whatever. I mean, there's an alternative that power can corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. But I don't know. I guess that's probably true, because if you become capable of some measure of it, why wouldn't you want to be capable of more? I guess that is that's the drug, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the first of the stories that we're covering tonight. But a very good story. I think it's I don't know. It's all those people dropping dead that are attached to that land. It does seem like they really did invoke some kind of curse onto themselves.
It's actually interesting how each one of these skinwalker stories, like, some part of us recognizes, like, they could look exactly like a dog or a fox, but there'll be little differences there, but something in us, like, it's a gut feeling, intuition, whatever you want to say it is, Holy Spirit and otherwise, but some part of us always gets like a weird vibe from these things. Like, it's some part of us recognizes it spiritually or subconsciously, whatever it is.
Yeah, there does seem to be, and I've maintained that for a long time. It's like people ask, well, how do you know if something is negative or not? It's like, well, what do you feel? When you're in the presence of pure evil, you're going to feel it. I really believe that. Like being in the company of someone who is absolutely, evil. I'm not talking about like with psychopaths or sociopaths who just don't feel. But I'm talking about those individuals that want to hurt you. They want to destroy everything about you and those creatures or whatever. I really think you feel it because maybe it's just some leftover from our evolution that, it was a survival instinct. We can tell when something wants to destroy us. And so that nerves kick in but it is like a sixth sense.
Yeah.
It really is. But let's get to the next one. As we're down to 8 minutes, that took a while. That actually took a lot longer than I thought it would. But the next one is dealing with the winged humanoid stuff. And I know Lon's been real busy with this kind of stuff, the winged humanoids. And this is at O'Hare International Construction Site. And this is kind of the Mothman. And they're basically calling them winged humanoids. Red-eyed, owl-like winged humanoid encountered at O'Hare International Construction Site. This was from March 15th, so it's a real new article as well. All right. Couple parked at Northeast O'Hare International, construction site are interrupted by something hitting the car. They observe a red-eyed owl-like winged humanoid peering in the window. Oh, no. That's got to be a horrible thing to see. Don't you think?
Yeah, putting it lightly, yes.
All right, so this is the following account was reported by Phantoms and Monsters 40 and research team member Manuel Navarrete at UFO Clearinghouse. March 5th, 2022, 10 p.m. local time. I was out driving around with a guy I just started talking to, and we were out by the airport just cruising around, listening to music and getting to know one another. We decided to park to smoke some bud, and one thing led to another, and we were in the back seat when he looked up and started screaming, "What the F?" over and over again. And it was then that we felt like something bumped into the side of the car, like when someone slammed on the side of your ride. I sat up and saw a pair of bright red eyes and a big black body looking into the driver's side window, into the back seat. Well, it scared both of us, and we both started screaming out loud. This thing kept looking into the car, and then it just disappeared. A security guard shows up, and then 2 more show up. They made us get out of the car and started asking us why we were there. But after looking at us, they started asking about what we had seen. We told them, and they screamed at us to get dressed and leave. This is the investigator notes. I contacted the witnesses via email, and after much assurance, she agreed to an interview over the phone. I called and spoke with her regarding her sighting. A witness is a 20-year-old Hispanic female, and her companion was 26 years old, and also Hispanic descent. The witness said that they were out driving around and had decided to stop at a construction site near the airport to talk and smoke some bud. The witness said it was about 10 p.m. and that there was no one around at the site. They parked near the entrance, but out of the way so as not to be seen by any law enforcement. For the witness's sake, I asked her to please skip the details and just please stick to the sighting itself. She described the entity as being tall and thinly built with bright red eyes that were glowing. She described feeling the car move as if someone had slammed against the side of it, followed by her partner starting to scream. The witness described the entity as bending down to peer into the window, and from the brief glimpse she saw of it when she sat up, described it as owl-like. Her partner told her that it looked like its eyes were set into the entity's shoulders. The witnesses stated that the creature was gone within a few seconds and that almost immediately the security guards arrived. When asked how long from the creature leaving to the security guards' arrival, the witness said that she was certain the guards had to have seen the creature taking off as they arrived. When asked about the security guards, she said they told them to get out of their car, seeing the state of the witnesses. They then asked them why they were there and what they had seen. The guards questioned them for a few minutes, took the information, and then told them to finish getting dressed and leave immediately. She said they were both told that the next time they were seen at the site, they would be arrested immediately. The witnesses left and she was dropped off at home. When asked about the second witness's contact information, the reporting witness said that he did not wish to be contacted and they had talked only a few times after that, but had not gone out again. Yeah, that'll be a mood killer for sure. The witness then expressed her desire to conclude the interview, and I thanked her for her time. The construction site to where the sighting happened is on Highway 72, and an investigator will be dispatched to conduct a field investigation. It is assumed they are part of the expansion project currently going on at O'Hare International Airports. That's the weird stuff, is that there's apparently a whole host of these sightings around the Chicago International Airport. What's going on at Chicago there? What is it?
Oh,
something's up.
Could it, like as far as how they're described, is it possible they're mistaking it for like a Mothman incident, or do you think? Or as far as how Mothman is described, there's no way, in your opinion?
What, I don't understand. I think it's a Mothman sighting. So what do you mean?
Oh, I see. Is that okay? Never mind.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like a winged humanoid. So that's the thing. I mean, Mothman, winged humanoid. It's these terms that are just attached to a phenomena. The phenomena was made famous in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 50s or something, 40s or 50s or 60s maybe even. I don't remember which, but essentially they were seeing this Mothman creature around the bridge at Point Pleasant, and then soon after the bridge collapsed and a bunch of people died. Well, they since came to regard the Mothman as a harbinger of doom, that if you see them, then something bad is going to happen. But I don't know that that's the case, or if that was just, whatever. I don't think this thing sabotaged the bridge, but for the longest time, that was the phenomena. It was Point Pleasant, West Virginia. They even have a Mothman festival out there. And of course, there was a book and movie made out of it, The Mothman Prophecies, I think starring Richard Gere, but apparently a pretty intense movie. But the phenomena appears to be much more widespread than that, as it's been widely reported around the Chicago, Illinois area and the Great Lakes region anyway. So what is it? I don't know, but apparently there's more than one of these things around, and perhaps many. Now, I will say that the descriptions from the various reports, and I know the Whalens of Singular Fortean have done a lot of research into this, and there's quite a disparaging range of physical descriptions. Some people have seen them looking like, almost like hopping birds. Sometimes they're 7-8 feet tall. Sometimes they're 3 or 4 feet tall. There's this whole range of different reports coming in, but I don't know. It's just some weird winged being that some people see them flapping their wings and taking off. Other people see them just holding their arms out like their wings out, and they take off without any visible motion. Whatever it is, I don't know, but it's a strange thing. But You know what else I know?
Unbelievably, it's almost time.
It's almost time. There's just moments. Hi, buddy. Hi. You want to come here? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Pikachu. Are you purring?
Oh, I hear that purring.
Oh, he's got a good purring motor going. Your purr motor's going. He's so soft, but he's a little bastard though, really. He's just he's terrorizing Anubis most of the time, and Anubis is like, oh God. So
No.
yeah, but he's cute. That's Pikachu. So anyway, that's gonna about wrap up our show. We don't have any time left. Sheldon, thanks for being here. It's a wonderful. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, check out our Discord and get involved over there. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.
Oh.